Privacy practices once again under fire. The tech giant now facing worldwide scrutiny over the way it tracks users, sometimes without telling you, after 7 European watchdog agencies filed complaints accusing Google of using deceptive and manipulative techniques against its millions of users. So what does this mean for your privacy? Joining us right now with insight, senior fellow at the Center for Digital Government and a cybersecurity contributor for Hill.com, Morgan Wright. Morgan, this is pretty significant, correct?
Yes.
Why?
It's a $4.4 billion problem for Google because under the new EU regulations called the General Data Protection Regulations, you can be fined up to 4% of your global revenue if you violate the rules of the EU GDPR. And last year, 2017, Google made $110 billion. So this is significant. The other thing, too, Brian, is that at what point does no mean no? At what point, when you turn off tracking and you believe you're not being tracked, do you have an assurance you're not being tracked? Google is also accused of using a lot of deception and manipulation to get people to turn on other things that captures that tracking information. So between the U.S., the U.K., and the EU, there's a lot of legal activity going on that's affecting Google right now.
And keep in mind, I think 9 nations called out Facebook for what they were doing and not doing. So there's a big pushback globally, not just here. By the way, you bring up a point that when you hit pause, you're not supposed to be tracked. They still track you.
Yes.
And Google has a statement in response to that. They say location history is turned off by default, and you can edit, delete, or pause at any time. If you pause it, we may clear that depending on your individual phone and app settings. We might still collect and use location data to improve your Google experience. They're improving for us.
Look, you have to be a computer scientist and a legal scholar to understand everything that goes into operating something as simple as just your phone right here. So we've got to make it simple for people. Look, when you flip the light switch off and the lights go off, the lights are off. It's pretty clear. When you flip it on, it's on. It's got to be that way with your privacy, with your security. And what's happening is this drives revenue, Brian. This is all about Google making money off of targeting you, understanding where you're at, so they can deliver more and more targeted ads. And because you think you're not being tracked, you really are. How many times have people searched for something or been at a restaurant, you go on Facebook, and all of a sudden it's like, or Google says, hey, what did you think of this restaurant? You go, I turned off my tracking. How do you know? This just happened yesterday. So I think, what's going to happen is you start off with litigation, with what's going on. Then there's going to be regulation. So you'll see FTC, FCC maybe get involved. But pretty soon I think what you're going to see is Congress, I think, has had enough of this. They're going to finally take action between Facebook, Twitter, Google, and everything going on. I think you'll see some legislation come up this next year, especially in a Democratic Congress.
Well, famously, the CEO of Google says, yeah, I know you invited me, Congress. I don't think I want to come. Now the CEO will be coming to testify on Capitol Hill. That'll be December 5th, his first public appearance ever before Congress. What question would you have?
I'd want to drill down and I say, okay, I don't think there's one question I could ask. I think there's probably 1,000, but really it's get down to when do we know that we're not being tracked? What do I have to do as a consumer to ensure that you can't track me? And when does no mean no on security and privacy? So I think you got to drill down on that. But as we found out, answers mean, words mean things. Well, it depends. It depends on what the definition of is. I don't want to go through that again. I want clear language from these social media providers, these technology companies, that I absolutely know when I'm being tracked and when I'm not, and I should be able to make a conscious choice. And Google is not giving us that conscious choice. So I'd look at manipulation, deceit, and see what else they're up to.
These companies like Amazon, Google, and Facebook are getting so big, almost bigger than our country. So let's see how they respond, see if there's any humility when they come before Congress. Morgan Wright, thanks so much.
You bet, Brian.